Kalen Ward had lived in the far desert for years, but he had never seen a storm like the one that hit New Mesa that morning. The sky turned copper red, the winds pushed sand like knives, and every dune rose and fell like waves on a shaking ocean. Callan kept his small patrol buggy steady as he crossed the empty land. His job was simple: check the fences, make sure travelers were safe, and watch for anything unusual. He never expected to find someone that day, especially not a child. The storm began to calm near sunset. The red light spread across the desert floor, soft and warm after the violent wind. Callan slowed the buggy when he noticed something half buried in the sand. At first he thought it was debris from a broken wagon, then he thought it might be an animal, but when he stepped out and walked closer, he stopped completely. It was a little girl. She was curled tightly, arms around her knees, covered in dust. Her skin was dry, her lips cracked, and she looked like she had not eaten for days. She wore clothes made of woven leather strips and cloth with traditional patterns. Callan had seen designs like this before, Apache designs, but only on visitors during cultural gatherings. Never here, so far from the main settlements. Callan knelt beside her and put a hand near her shoulder. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly. They were dark, but full of fear and exhaustion. She tried to speak, but only air escaped her mouth. Callan put his water canteen to her lips. She drank too fast, coughing, and Callan gently pulled it back. "It's okay," he said softly. "Just a little at a time. You're safe now." He lifted her carefully into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. When he placed her in the buggy, she clung to his sleeve as if she thought he might disappear. "I've got you," he said again. "I'm taking you home." The desert grew cold as night came. Callan drove as quickly as he could to his cabin, a small one-room house near the border of the human region. When he carried the girl inside, he set her near the fire and brought her warm broth. She ate slowly at first, then faster, as if remembering what hunger was. After a few minutes, she whispered her first word. "Noya." Callan nodded. "Your name is Noya?" She nodded, too tired to speak more. "All right, Noya, I'm Callan. You're going to be okay." She watched him with alert eyes, even though she was weak. Something about those eyes bothered him, not in a bad way, but in a worrying way. It was the look of someone who had been running from something terrible. When she finally slept, Callan contacted the nearest Apache settlement on his radio. A woman answered, surprised when he explained what happened. She told him no one in their community was missing. But when he described the girl's clothes and her name, the woman hesitated. "She is not from our village," the woman said quietly. She might be from the Hidden People." Callan frowned. "The Hidden People? You mean the Sky Mesa clan? I thought that was only a story." "They are real," the woman replied. "They live deeper in the canyons, and they do not show themselves, not even to us. If their child is alone, something serious has happened." The woman offered no more details and ended the call. Callan stared at the radio for a while, wondering what he had just stepped into. The next morning, Noya woke early. She stood at the window, her small hands pressed against the glass, staring into the desert. When Callan walked over, she pointed toward the far horizon. "They are coming," she whispered. "Who?" Callan asked. She pressed her lips tightly, as if afraid to say. She only repeated, "They are coming." Callan stepped outside and looked around. Nothing moved except dust blowing across the plain. No footprints, no tracks, nothing unusual. He returned inside, knelt down, and tried to speak gently. "Noya, you're safe here. No one will hurt you." But she shook her head hard, her braids flying. "Not safe. They follow." "Who follows?" She trembled. Callan didn't ask further. Instead, he gave her breakfast, cleaned her wounds, and tried to keep her comfortable. But all day, she kept looking toward the same direction, and every time she looked, her body stiffened. That night, Callan couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. He stepped outside to check the area with a lantern. The light spread across the sand, and then he saw it. Footprints, not Noya's, not his, not from any person or animal he knew. The shape was long, narrow, and deep, like a clawed foot pressing down hard. The tracks came close to the cabin but stopped just outside the ring of light. Callan crouched and touched one of the prints. The sand inside was still warm. He looked around quickly, but the night was silent. When he came inside, Noya was awake, shaking. She didn't ask anything. She already knew what he had seen. "They come at night," she whispered. "They look for me." Callan put more wood in the fire, checked the windows, and made sure the door's extra lock was secure. He wasn't sure what he was protecting her from, but something out there definitely existed. The next day was quiet, but Callan felt watched. Noya stayed close to him, even when he worked outside. When he walked to the water pump, she held his shirt. When he checked the solar panels, she hid behind him. Once, when a desert bird flew overhead and made a sharp cry, she jumped and covered her ears. He knew then she had lived through something terrible. In the afternoon, Callan tried contacting the Apache settlement again to ask for help, but the radio signal cut out every time he attempted to send a message. The disruption was too strange to be natural. By evening, he made a decision. If no one was coming to help, he would protect Noya himself. He set up extra motion detectors outside, loaded his old rifle, even though he didn't know if a rifle would help, and prepared a meal. Noya ate quietly, but her eyes kept drifting to the door. Near midnight, a soft sound woke him. Noya was sitting up, looking toward the window. She didn't speak, but her expression said everything. They were close. Callan grabbed a lantern and stepped outside, expecting to see the strange footprints again, but this time he froze. 3 tall shapes stood in the darkness, just beyond the lantern light. At first he thought they were attackers, but as his eyes adjusted, he noticed the details. They were women, 3 Apache women, but unlike any he had ever seen. They wore layered armor made of leather, metal, and glowing strips of alien tech that pulsed like quiet stars. Their faces were marked with symbols of their clan, patterns that looked both ancient and advanced. One woman stepped forward. She was tall, with long dark hair tied behind her back and a calm but sharp gaze. She raised her hands slowly to show peace. "We mean no harm," she said, her voice strong and steady. "We are looking for the child you saved." Callan lowered the lantern slightly but didn't let his guard down. "She's inside. She was lost in the storm." The woman nodded. "Her name is Noya. She is one of ours." "If she's your child, why was she alone in the desert?" Callan asked. The woman glanced at her companions. The second woman, slightly shorter, but with the same intense eyes, stepped beside her. "There was danger. We were hunting a creature that woke beneath the canyon. Noya was with us for training. The creature attacked and she was separated." Callan remembered the strange footprints, the way Noya kept saying "they" with fear. "What kind of creature?" "We will explain inside," the tall woman said. "It is not safe to speak in the open." Callan hesitated, but Noya suddenly appeared at the door, watching the 3 women with wide, hopeful eyes. She ran toward them. The women knelt and embraced her tightly, whispering words Callan didn't understand. The tall woman stood and faced Callan again. "I am Takala of the Sky Mesa clan. These are Lishka and Mayan. You saved our child, and because of that, we stand at your door." Callan didn't fully understand what that meant, but he felt the weight of her words. He stepped aside and let them enter. Inside the cabin, the 3 women looked around, studying everything carefully. Their movements were graceful, controlled, like trained warriors. Noya held Takala's hand as if afraid to let go. Callan finally asked, "What happens now?" Takala looked at him with deep seriousness. "You have shown courage. You brought our daughter back to us, and now by our law we owe you protection and truth." Callan sat down slowly. "Then tell me the truth." Takala nodded. 4 days ago, something old woke beneath the canyon. A creature that should have stayed buried. It hunts movement. It hunts energy. And it hunts fear. Noya ran from it, and so it followed. Callan felt a chill. "It came here?" "Yes," Mayan said quietly. "It came for the child. It sensed her fear." Callan thought of the warm footprints outside. His hands tightened. Takala took a deep breath. "Because you protected her, the creature sensed you as well." "It knows this place now." "So what do we do?" Callan asked. All 3 women exchanged looks. Then Takala answered. "We stay, we watch, we protect, until the danger is gone." Callan nodded slowly. The desert outside felt heavier, darker, more alive than before. But he looked at Noya, who now smiled for the first time since he found her. She sat close to the warrior women, safe and calm. He realized then that his quiet life in the desert had just changed, and he did not know what tomorrow would bring. But at least tonight, he was not alone. The first light of dawn painted the desert in soft gold and red. Callan stood outside his cabin, breathing in the dry air, while Noya clung to Takala's side. The 3 women from the Sky Mesa clan moved with quiet purpose, examining the surrounding desert and the hills beyond. Their armor glinted faintly in the morning sun, and their eyes were alert, scanning every shadow. Callan felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. He had never seen humans, or anyone, like them. They carried a strength that seemed both ancient and otherworldly. Takala approached him and spoke in a calm, firm tone. "We must return to the canyon. The creature has awakened, and it will not stop until it is destroyed or driven back." Her gaze softened slightly as she glanced at Noya. "She needs to be with her people, and you will help us, human." Callan swallowed. "Me? Why me?" "You found Noya. You kept her safe. You have courage and your mind is sharp. We will need both." She gestured toward the desert. "The creature hunts by sensing movement and energy. Your knowledge of the land and our strategies together will increase our chances." Callan nodded slowly. He had no idea what they were getting into, but he could not leave Noya alone. He had promised himself that he would protect her. If standing beside these women meant doing that, he would do it. The journey to the hidden canyon city was long and treacherous. They traveled over steep cliffs, narrow paths, and through deep sand passages where even the wind whispered warnings. Noya held Takala's hand tightly, occasionally glancing at Callan with quiet trust. The child seemed lighter now, more confident with her people near, yet still aware of the danger that shadowed them. Callan walked beside them, scanning the horizon, his mind alert to every sound. When they reached the canyon city, Callan was stunned. Homes were carved into the cliffs and connected by rope bridges that swayed gently over deep crevices. Water flowed from natural springs into stone reservoirs, and alien tech panels shimmered on the walls, collecting energy from the sun. The Apache designs were everywhere, woven patterns in stone and wood, markings on metal, and symbols etched into the rock faces. It was a city where tradition and technology met, and it was alive with quiet purpose. The women led Noya to a small courtyard where other members of the clan awaited. Callan noticed warriors, young and old, training with bows, energy spears, and strange devices that projected light into precise patterns. Children ran along the paths, guided by their parents, practicing agility and awareness. The entire place exuded strength, harmony, and readiness. T'Challa turned to Callan. "Our people are skilled in combat and defense, but the creature you saw, the burrowing Leviathan, requires more than strength. It is intelligent, patient, and relentless. It senses fear. It feeds on it. To fight it, we need courage, strategy, and unity." Callan nodded. "Then I'll do whatever I can." Mayan, the third woman, handed him a small device. "This will help you sense its movement. It reacts to energy pulses. When it approaches, it will alert you." She spoke calmly but with urgency. "Pay attention. One mistake, and it could be the last." Callan accepted the device, feeling its light hum in his palm. He didn't fully understand it, but he trusted them. For Noya's sake, he had to. The clan spent the rest of the day preparing traps and studying maps of the canyon. Callan watched and learned. They explained how the creature tunneled under the cliffs, how it could sense vibrations, and how it attacked at night. T'Challa instructed him in how to move silently, how to hide his energy signature, and how to coordinate with the others. Every detail was crucial, and Callan soaked it in. He had never felt so aware of danger, yet so connected to a purpose larger than himself. As night fell, the clan gathered in a large, open courtyard. Fires burned around them, but the shadows were long and dark. Noya stood beside T'Challa, gripping her hand with determination, while Callan checked the device again. The hum grew faintly louder with each passing minute. Callan felt his pulse quicken. Then the ground trembled. A low, rolling vibration moved through the canyon floor. It started softly, but it grew quickly, like the echo of a drum in a vast hall. The clan tensed, spreading out in formation. T'Challa raised her hand, and everyone fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The first eruption of sand came from a fissure in the canyon floor. The creature appeared slowly, emerging from a network of tunnels. Its body was massive, covered in tough scales that reflected firelight. Its limbs ended in clawed feet that sank into the sand as it moved, and its glowing eyes searched for prey. The burrowing Leviathan was unlike anything Callan had ever imagined. It radiated intelligence and menace, and it moved with terrifying patience. Callan gripped his rifle tightly, though he doubted it alone could stop such a creature. He followed T'Challa's signal, taking his position near a cluster of rocks with a clear line of sight. Beside him, Lishka and Mayan adjusted energy nets and traps. Noya crouched with T'Challa, watching, her small hands pressed together as if silently urging them to succeed. The creature paused, sniffing the air, sensing the energy around it. It seemed to hesitate, then shifted toward the cliff edge, moving with surprising speed. Callan signaled silently with his device, alerting others to its direction. The energy nets glowed faintly, projecting beams that would ensnare the Leviathan if it touched them. It took careful timing. The attack began. Callan fired a warning shot into the ground near the creature's path, not to harm it, but to distract it. The Leviathan hissed, shifting its massive head, and surged toward the traps. T'Challa shouted commands, and the clan sprang into action. Lishka and Mayan activated their nets, and beams of light shot into the air, forming a glowing cage. The creature roared, a sound that shook the canyon walls and made the ground quake beneath Callan's boots. It lunged, trying to smash the trap. Callan ran forward, throwing a sonic decoy that emitted vibrations to confuse it. The Leviathan paused, giving the clan the chance they needed. T'Challa moved quickly, guiding Noya to a safe position while others pressed forward, coordinating strikes and traps. Callan watched, heart pounding, and realized how well-trained these warriors were. Every move was precise, every strike calculated, and every member trusted the others completely. The Leviathan thrashed violently, but the traps held. The energy nets tightened, restraining its massive body. Callan activated another decoy, and the creature, sensing a false escape route, moved toward it. In a coordinated effort, the clan struck together, hitting weak points in its scales with controlled energy bursts. The creature let out a final roar and collapsed into the sand, defeated. Silence returned to the canyon, broken only by the labored breathing of the clan and the distant wind through the rocks. Callan lowered his rifle, his body trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. He looked at Noya, who ran toward him and hugged his leg tightly. Her eyes shone with relief and gratitude. "You did it," she whispered. "You helped save us." Callan smiled, though his body ached. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us." Takala approached him, her armor glinting softly in the dim firelight. "You fought bravely, human. You followed our strategies, adapted quickly, and protected the child when needed. The clan owes you respect." Callan shook his head. "I just did what was right. Noya, she's important." "She is," Takala said softly. "And because of your courage, she will grow safely. You have proven yourself worthy of the Sky Mesa clan's trust." Mayan and Lishka nodded, placing a hand on his shoulder in silent acknowledgement. Callan felt a warmth in his chest, a pride he had never known. In that moment, he realized he was no longer just a ranger in the desert. He was part of something greater, a community bound by courage, trust, and shared responsibility. Over the next days, Callan helped the clan rebuild traps, repair damage from the fight, and teach younger members about human tactics. Noya stayed close, learning from her mother and the warriors, yet never letting go of Callan's side. The bond they shared was unspoken but strong, built on survival, protection, and trust. When it was safe, Takala invited Callan to stay at the Canyon City as an honored guest. "The desert no longer feels empty to us," she said. "Because you are here, it feels alive with hope." Noya laughed, running ahead to show him the hidden paths and secret corners of the city. Callan followed, amazed at the beauty, strength, and ingenuity of the people he had once thought of only as legends. The first sunrise after the battle found Callan standing at the edge of the canyon, looking out over the desert. The wind carried the scent of sand and stone, the whisper of the cliffs, and the promise of new beginnings. Noya ran beside him, and the three warriors walked behind, steady and silent. He felt a sense of belonging, something he had never known in all his years patrolling the empty desert. Callan realized that courage could come in many forms, that bravery was not just in fighting monsters, but in protecting the innocent, trusting others, and standing together when the world seemed against you. The humans who lived on New Mesa had learned from him, and he had learned from the Apache clan. Together, they had faced the impossible, and won. As the morning light spread across the canyon, Noya turned to him with a bright smile. "You are not alone anymore," she said. Callan looked at her, then at the women who had become his allies. He nodded. "No, we are not, and we never will be." The desert, once silent and unforgiving, now felt alive with promise. And for the first time, Callan understood that a single act of kindness could ripple across an entire world, bringing courage, unity, and hope where there had been only fear. He glanced back at the Canyon City, at the Sky Mesa clan, and at the child who had started it all. In that moment, he knew he had found a place he belonged, and a family he would protect with everything he had. The wind carried their laughter and their whispers through the cliffs, a sound of triumph and harmony. The burrowing Leviathan was gone, but the courage it had awakened in them remained, unbroken and eternal. And for Callan, the desert was no longer empty. It was home.